Hi, I'm Tina.
And I'm Johnny.
This is Suspect Paranormal.
Part 6. Am I doing my depressing story first, or are you going to do your depressing story first?
Do we both have a depressing story?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, if nothing else, I'll tell everybody what I'm talking about. Or tell you what I'm talking about.
I think I've forgotten even what you're talking about. What?
I am talking about the true story of Emily Rose.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy.
And I had to do it because Tina was watching it the other day on TV or something, and I walked past and I saw it, and I was like, I want to talk about possession because those are my favorite scary movies. Like any of the religious stuff is like always
the really scary stuff.
Yeah, that's the really scary stuff. Yeah.
So there is one movie that has been so bad that I could not watch it a second time until the new Evil Dead. And that was The Possession of Emily Rose, or The Exorcism of Emily Rose. It came out in 2005 when our two oldest girls were just about to be 1 and just about to be 2.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it when it first came out with him, and then I would not watch it again. And if you can tell me...
Did we see it at the theater?
I don't know. Probably. If you can tell me in the comments the scene in that movie that did me in, you'll get brownie points. I want to know. And you don't say anything if you know it.
Oh, to be honest, it's been so long since I've watched it because you didn't allow me to watch it again.
I cannot stop.
But you had it on TV the other day.
I cannot stop you from watching a movie in another room.
Oh, but not in the same room.
No, you can't watch it in the room with me.
What if I'm watching it on my laptop?
So it has been 17 years? About 16, 17 years?
I don't know.
I knew that I was scared of the movie. I knew that it was bad. So...
Bad movie.
That was all I could remember. I could not remember exactly. I remember the scene. I'll never forget that scene from the movie. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But I couldn't remember everything else. And so, it's been watered down in my memory so much. I thought, okay, well, maybe I can watch it now. I'm grown now.
I mean, I remember bits and pieces. I don't remember.
But we ended up turning it off. I got about 15 minutes into the movie and...
Oh, I'm sorry, little girl.
We ended up turning it off anyway. So I didn't watch it again.
I just realized you can see his guts and his ribs. And I guess those are veins.
Oh, that's lovely, dear.
Yeah.
Okay, well, go ahead and tell your story of Emily.
Crap, my thing just... What are you talking about tonight?
I will be talking about Jayna Murray and Brittany Norwood.
Never heard of them.
Well, good. You'll learn something new tonight.
I will. All right. Well, we'll talk about Emily Rose then. So her real name is Annaliese Elizabeth Michel. She's German.
Oh.
Or she was German. I guess she still is.
Dankeschön.
She was born September 21st, 1952. She was 3 years older than my mother. At the age of 16, she experienced a seizure and was diagnosed with psychosis caused by temporal lobe epilepsy. What?
Okay. So I wonder what the difference is between regular epilepsy and temporal lobe epilepsy.
Is there a difference?
I don't know.
I think we've just been hearing the epilepsy.
I don't know.
I don't know either. But we did find out that there are different types of seizures when Mary was diagnosed. Shortly after, she was diagnosed with depression and was treated at a psychiatric ward. And I didn't say that right.
That's
psychiatric.
We know what you mean.
Ward.
And my gosh, wouldn't you be diagnosed with something like that at 15? I mean, not only
16.
did she, 16, not only did she get the epilepsy, but she also got the psychosis. I mean, come on.
It was, but I mean, they were saying it was shortly after, and she was diagnosed with, the depression and all that stuff. So it all, I just guess, kind of piled up.
Yeah.
By the time she turned 20, she had become intolerant to a variety of religious objects and began to hear voices.
What does it mean to be intolerant to religious objects?
Like if you hold up a cross,
she would hiss?
She would. She just couldn't take it. I don't know if she hissed or not.
Would she become physical?
I don't know. It didn't say. It just said she became intolerant.
I know. I'm just wondering, like, what you think. What do you get from that? What do you think intolerant of?
Well, I mean,
walls backwards.
I think that might have been later, but like, honestly, this is like a really depressing story. But I don't know. Maybe it made her sick, possibly, or maybe she did flip out. Maybe she started hissing and or getting violent. I don't know. So after years of failed medicinal therapy, Annaliese and her family were convinced that she was possessed by a multitude of demons. Her family then turned to the Catholic Church for an exorcism. And after 67 failed attempts, and she went through this twice a week for 10 months, and some of these exorcisms lasted up to 6 hours per exorcism. She passed away on July 1st, 1976, at the age of 24.
What was her listed cause of death?
Her listed cause of death was malnutrition and dehydration. Because, and I'll actually get into that, because during her final days before she passed away, she just stopped eating or drinking anything, like period. Just stopped eating or drinking anything. And when she died, when she passed away, she only weighed 68 pounds.
Oh, wow. Wow, at 24.
Yep. Or really 23. It would have been a 24th that September. Okay. But she didn't make it. Annaliese's parents, along with 2 Catholic priests, were sentenced to 6 months in jail, which was reduced to 3 years of probation after being found guilty for negligent homicide. And in the movie, they actually do different demon names, but
he's gonna say them again.
In real life,
hold on, please. Just hold on. Okay. Lord, he's about to say these names again in our house. Please put a circle of protection around my family. Keep us safe from the names that he's about to list again in our home. Amen. Go ahead.
So the demons that she was supposedly possessed by in real life were Cain, Judas, Lucifer, Hitler, Nero, and a fallen priest by the name of Priest Fleischman. And Fleischman was a Catholic priest that was believed to have roots in Bavaria, Germany. He was present in the era of the 16th century. German people back then were known as Franks. And Fleischman was appointed as the priest by the Catholic Church in 1572. 3 years later, in 1575, he was unfrocked by the church for his bad and alcoholic behavior. He was also accused of assault and attempted murder.
Oh. Things typical of a priest back then.
I mean...
I'm kidding.
We won't get into that. I also have to note that there are a lot of people out there that want to see Annaliese be noticed by the Catholic Church as being a saint.
Yes, I cannot wait for you to get into that, because that was what I found interesting about this story.
Yes, I never even knew this until I did the research. It was because at one point, Annaliese claimed that she had been visited by the Virgin Mary. Mary gave Annaliese a proposal that within 3 days, Annaliese was to decide to take on self-sacrifice with the possessions of the demons that I just listed off, and basically take on the sins of mankind in a way that kind of like she sacrificed herself like Jesus did to take on the sins of mankind. And if she decided that she didn't want to do that, then Mary was to return 3 days later and expel the demons herself. Being a devout Catholic and believer in God, she decided to take on the demons. And on October 31st, 1975, that's when the demons, 3 days later, took full hold on her as being possessed. And in early 1976, Annaliese said something was going to happen in July. And on July 1st, 1976, she passed away.
Wow.
Annaliese's parents exhumed her body because the church basically threw the poor girl into a cheap pine box and she went directly into the ground. After opening the casket, they noticed that her body had not rotted at all, and it smelled of flowers. And that was a sign to the Catholic Church that one is to be noticed as a saint. But it was denounced due to 2 German bishops saying that possession was not a factor in this case.
But with all of that aside, up until this point, your only criteria for sainthood is that your body does not rot after a certain time and you smell like flowers.
And it has to be after a miracle. If they die after a miracle, and then it has to go into that order. Something miraculous has to happen. And they denounced the possession, which denounced the miracle. Right. And then, so the other 2 factors didn't count.
But people are still pushing for her sainthood.
Yes, people are still pushing for her sainthood. Yep.
They have my vote. I'll say, do it.
Well, I think you have to be Catholic.
Oh, I'm not Catholic. My vote doesn't count.
No. But, I mean.
Never mind.
It's
going to be a smart aleck, but.
They're using Dominion machines for their body. Oh. Anyways, I thought it was just a really sad and messed up story. And because of 2 bishops, she didn't receive what God intended her to receive.
Right.
But
that it speaks a lot about her character and the kind of person that she was. So even if you don't believe in possession, even if you don't believe that she was visited by the Virgin Mary, she believed it. And so even if it was part of her psychosis, she believed that she was taking on these demons to save mankind, and she had a choice. She had a choice to either not do it, and Mary would come back and save her and help her be cleared of these demons, or to take them on and sacrifice herself for all of mankind. And she chose to sacrifice herself. Yep. That speaks volumes about the kind of person that she was. Oh, yeah. She went through absolute and total literal hell to the entire time. I mean, could you imagine? And at 24. Yep. To be that young. That's a lot. That's a lot to do and sacrifice and take on. That is a person who is extremely devout to their beliefs and their hope for humanity. Yeah, that shows a level of maturity that not a lot of 24-year-olds probably have. Especially today. I didn't. Especially today.
It's a totally different world now. But
Yeah.
That's all I got. Well, I was going to say.
I'm still not going to watch the movie, though.
We had a house cleansing years ago, and supposedly it was attached to me. So that's why I brought the whole possession thing up. I never got possessed, but it was supposedly attached to me. And
dude, that thing sat on his shoulder and went everywhere he went. It still does.
Hi, little buddy. It's that thing.
Yeah, so we did have our house cleansed. I reached out to, so I am a huge Jason Hawes and Steve Gonzalez and Tango fan from Ghost Hunters. I love those guys. I love to watch them. And I had reached out to them on their website, and they got us in contact with a team of demonologists in Atlanta who came to our house and did an investigation and a cleansing of our house because there was a lot of bad stuff going on at the time. And
they just went straight into demons. They were just like, yeah, you got demons. We're going to send somebody else out there.
Because what I wrote them, I guess, stood out as that. We woke up one night and we woke up to our very young daughter's screaming bloody murder. I mean, it was awful, the sound. And Johnnie slept in the bed against the wall, and I was on the outside, and he cleared me, jumping over me to run and get to the girls. And when he got to the room, I saw him go through the doorway and instantly freeze and his eyes get really big, and he turned around and looked at me, and it was straight out of a horror movie. But I'm telling you, you cannot make this shit up. You could see his breath.
Yep. The room
in front of him, and there was no reason that you should be able to see his breath in front of him in the house at this time. And when he got to the girls, they were both huddled up together. Now, they were very, very young, probably like what, 3 and 4?
4 or 5, 3,
4 or 5, something like that.
Yeah.
And they were hugging each other, huddled up in the corner of the bottom bunk, like scooted back in the corner, screaming and crying. And Clara just said, the bad man's screaming at us. He's screaming at us. And she was pointing. And I don't think you could see him, right?
I didn't see or hear anything, but the room was absolutely freezing. And it actually reminded me of when I was a kid and saw the first apparition that I ever saw. Mm-hmm. And the room was really cold. But it was way colder than that. Like, this was like walking into a meat freezer type cold. There had to have been at least a 10, 15, 20 degree difference between that room and the rest of the house when that happened. So leading up to that night, there had been a whole bunch of random little things happening. Us seeing Mary run down the hall and pop her little head up behind the couch. But Mary, we'd get up and go and look back there, and immediately we were there. Like, there was no time passed from us going to the back of the couch. The house was small. Was that when the girl looked like Mary and she's wearing a white gown? Yes. Okay. But Mary wasn't there. Nobody was there when we would look back there. And when we would walk back to tell Mary, you're supposed to be in bed, she was asleep. And this continued. And then it started to happen with Mary sitting in the room with us. And we would see Mary come up behind Mary and pop her head up above the couch and then turn around and run back to the hallway. That apparition was solid. Yes, it was not like Mary. Right. Like it was Mary there. It wasn't one of those apparitions where it's like transparent and it's like wispy or anything. This was a solid figure of a child that looked like Mary. Mm-hmm. And like there was no light getting through it. There was no seeing through it. It was not your typical like apparition at all. No. And so it got to be really, really scary because you got to think,
Like, you're sitting here with your child and you see your child across the room, but you know, there's no other Mary. And you have to start questioning your sanity and your reality and wondering, okay, so if that one looks like her and it sounds like her, and how are you going to tell which one is really, if they both come to you at the same time? Like, I don't know. It was freaky. It was really, really weird.
I didn't even think about that, but now I think about it.
It's her upstairs. Don't even try.
No. I'm not saying now. I'm saying like back then, what if it was like the apparition like talking to us and interacting and stuff?
Dude, we would hear it talking sometimes.
No, I'm talking about like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know.
Face to face.
So it got to be really scary. And, things were moving, things were disappearing and then reappearing. Radios were turning on and off. TVs were turning on and flipping channels.
Yep.
The girls would see a figure pop up at the foot of their bed. It just got to be really bad. And so that all led up to the night of them screaming in their bed. And we ended up having to move our bed in the room with them and have their bunk beds on one side of us and our bed on one side of them. And we had to sleep in there with them like that for a while because I was terrified to let them be alone after that. And they were terrified. They were not going to be alone. They weren't going to have it. So yeah, that was a really crazy time. And that's when I reached out to the Ghost Hunters team and they sent those people down to come and check it out.
I wonder if it was my stepdad.
I have no idea.
Like the violent part of him.
I don't know. I think it was whatever followed us from the trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was right after.
That was after that, right?
Yeah. So anyway, now that I'm nice and freaked out again. Do you want to hear about my story?
Yeah, you're so sexy.
Am I?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Wow. Well, that'll lead me right into this. Not really. So I have the story of I don't even know if I'm going to pronounce this right. I've seen this business name, but I have never said it. And I don't know. Lululemon in Bethesda, Maryland is where this story takes place on March 11th, 2011. It is about Jayna Murray and Brittany Norwood. They are two women that worked in the store together. And one night, let me say, on March 12th, 2011, a store manager came in to open the store and found Jayna lying face down in a pool of her own blood with something tied around her neck. In the back of the store, she found Brittany groaning and tied up with zip ties around her wrists and ankles. There was a trail of bloody footprints all around the store. The story that Brittany told was that Brittany had forgotten her wallet the night of March 11th, 2011. Her and Jayna were closing the store together that night, and they had left, and she called Jayna and asked her to let her back into the store to get her wallet. So supposedly, once Jayna opened the door, two men in ski masks just appeared out of nowhere and pushed them inside and attacked them and SA'd them both. And then killed Jayna, but tied up Brittany and left Brittany in a different room.
You know what I'm thinking right now.
What are you thinking right now?
That the girl that got tied up was part of it. It was a setup.
No.
And
she had superficial wounds on her. Does that change your mind?
No.
So during the investigation, the police became aware of what looked to be some major holes in Brittany's story. Imagine that. beginning with the fact that there was zero evidence of any SA for either of the girls.
And it's going to take 15 years for them to figure out who did it.
That's not the story tonight, actually. Maybe it's because it's in Maryland and not California. Okay. So even though there had been a hole cut in Jayna's pants to insinuate an assault had been occurred, the police did not find this story believable because there was no other evidence of it. The wounds on Jayna were much more extensive. 331 wounds total on her body from many different weapons, including a knife and a hammer that came from the toolboxes inside the store.
Jeez.
The footprints were of a men's size 14 Reebok shoe that they found inside the store and Brittany's shoes. The prints went all around the store but stopped before either exit. And they found the shoes that made the prints inside the store. So further into the investigation, the police had found blood inside of Jayna's car that was found 3 blocks away from the store. It was a mixture of both Brittany and Jayna's blood. Brittany admitted to moving the car, but said she was forced to do so by the 2 men inside who had threatened to kill Jayna if Brittany didn't return in 10 minutes.
So she took 11. She took 11 minutes. I can already tell you what happened.
No. You let me tell my story. You do not get to hijack this one.
Oh.
The police arrested Brittany a week later for first-degree murder. So, do you want to know what made Brittany go all crazy and do this?
Okay.
So, what had caused Brittany to fake a break-in crime scene and claim that they had been SA'd and that the men had killed Jayna or unalived her? Oh, Lord, we're going to get flagged.
I'll beep it.
Well, as was the routine for store employees, Jayna and Brittany had been closing up together that night. But part of the closing up is that the last 2 in the store have to check one another's bags before clocking out to make sure no one had been stealing any merchandise because that had become a problem at the store. But Brittany had been stealing. And when Jayna saw the pants in Brittany's bags, she immediately called the store manager to make her aware that she had found the person that had been stealing from the store. So they both left the store, but Brittany called Jayna a few minutes later stating that she had forgotten her wallet inside and needed to be let back in. That part was true. Once inside, she attacked Jayna and unalived her before setting the scene to make it look like others had been involved.
Wow. Over a pair of pants.
Over, it sounds like over a quart because
they were
about to be caught for a long line of theft. But even so, your time for that would be so much shorter than
murder?
Yes, and you're not completely taking away someone's life and devastating their family. And I mean, come on.
And taking your life away and devastating your family.
You've got this, I don't want to say small crime because it's still a crime. It's still bad, but smaller crime. And then you just completely destroyed so many people's world.
Yep.
Over stuff.
Yep.
Anyway. So this is what made me sick. I mean, I can't say that. This whole story made me sick. But this right here, I don't know how if things had gone differently from this one detail, if it had been different, if they had done anything, they could have saved her life. And they didn't. Their fight that night was heard by the managers in the store next door. They even heard Jayna begging for help and for her life, stating that they heard her say specifically, "Talk to me. Don't do this. Talk to me. What's going on?" Then they heard Jayna screaming, being hit, and being dragged along the floor while begging God to help her.
Wow.
But they said they stayed out of it because it just sounded like drama.
How in the hell is
Dude,
that's
I don't
some major
know.
league drama?
I do not know how those people left that store without going over there to check on her, without calling the police, how they went home.
At least call the
went to
police
sleep.
anonymously. You know what I mean? You don't have to give your name for that.
It makes my skin crawl just to think of it. She was so close to help that just didn't come because they just didn't want to get involved.
Yep.
And here...
And sadly enough, it's not illegal to not intervene unless you're a doctor or a cop or a...
But morally, it's wrong.
Yeah, morally, yeah. Absolutely, 100%.
You had the opportunity to save a woman's life by picking up the phone and calling the police and walking by the door. You know, I don't know. Maybe people wouldn't do that because they don't want to insert themselves into the crime scene and risk their lives. Maybe. I'm the idiot that would have went over there with a weapon myself and tried to fight her off of her.
Or at least call the cops if you don't
called
have
the
a
police
weapon.
and then went over there. You know me. You know I would have.
Oh.
Anyway. So, here's the topper. There was a security officer sitting nearby, just down the shopping center a little bit, outside with his iPad earphones on. So iPod earbuds in. So he could not hear her.
Wow.
So here's
it's so
my
hard
thing.
to find good help these days.
I feel like as a security guard, you are on duty there to protect people, to protect stores, to protect that area.
People
and
and
anyone
property.
in it.
Yep. I did security.
So you cannot do that properly if you can't hear what's going on around you. And this is the perfect example of that. If you're going to have something in your ears while you're listening to something, you have to have one ear free completely to hear what's going on.
Well, even one ear can still obscure your hearing. So you should
read a book.
Yeah, read a book. You are not supposed to be, you're supposed to be, when you're trained as a security guard, you are trained and told 100% you are to stay alert for anything suspicious. You are supposed to keep an eye on your surroundings at all times because you never know what is going to happen.
So those are two major things that could have gone differently, and one tiny little thing changed for either one of those could have saved her life.
Yep.
If he'd had his ears open to what's going on around him, he would have heard her screaming.
Yep.
He could have heard what the managers heard and rushed in there to help her.
I hope he got fired.
It did not say what happened to him or the managers that heard it.
It just seems to me like the managers morally did something wrong. But as a security guard, that is your job to protect people and property, and you failed at that, so you should not be in that position anymore.
Right. So if you're listening to this podcast, if you have a difference of opinion on what they should have done, let us know. You know, I am absolutely positive some people are going to say, no, they did the right thing by not going over there. Maybe you'll believe that they should have called the police first before leaving.
Well, I can understand that also because of the fact, like me, I have a family that I want to come home to, and I have obligations for my family to take care of them. But on the other hand, you got somebody, if I had a weapon, like a real weapon, like a gun on me, then I'd be over there in a heartbeat. But not.
I just know me personally. Like, I can only really speak for me. And I know me personally. the adrenaline and the wanting to make sure that person was okay. I know the kind of moron that I am. I wouldn't have even given myself time to think about it. I would have rushed. You know how I do, and then I think. I never think and then do.
No, my mind instantly goes back to y'all. And then, you know, if something happens to me, then, well, that's not really true. I guess I'm actually worth more dead than alive.
Oh, my goodness. Anyway, so my questions that came up from this were, it just sounded like drama. The things that you just heard her saying, talk to me, don't do this, talk to me, what's going on? And then her screaming, being hit and being dragged along the floor while begging God to help her.
Yep.
Like, that is specifically what the manager said they heard, right?
Yep. There's very specifically violence going on. Is this
because we've been so badly desensitized as a whole that we cannot understand the difference between a real need for help and just drama?
Well, I mean, I would take that as being something violent going on.
Right, but would the majority of people now?
I don't know.
And the reason I ask that is because if you think back over the past, 5 to 10 years, all of the stories that you see online of people watching people getting beat to death, people watching people get run over, people watching, somebody fall onto the train tracks. And instead of them helping, they do this. They hold their phones up to video it.
There was actually a video that had surfaced on the internet and made like national news here, of a group of teenage boys that were watching that literally just pulled out their phone while this man drowned, and they were laughing at him and making fun of him while he was dying. And I think that's just the society that we're living in now, and that's why you got a war in Israel.
But how did we get there?
Well,
that's the big question.
If you really look at the Bible, it's all prophesized. I mean, all of this is. So everything that's going on even today is prophesized in the Bible.
Right.
Like, it's all leading up to.
But I think that the things that are happening that are making that come true, just my personal opinion, are that, we're handing 2-year-olds phones and shooing them off with their phones and letting the phones raise them. And we're letting, TV raise our kids, and the shows that they're watching from young ages, and I'm guilty of this, are shows that are not age appropriate. And so we are raising the next generation of kids to be completely desensitized to horrific things.
I think with like our generation, because we were kind of raised the same way, but the difference is like back then, if you saw a head explode, it was like a green goop.
Right. It wasn't realistic.
Now it's not. Now it's like CGI to make it look like somebody's head is actually getting sliced in half.
Right. It's very realistic. Right. And I have an example of that. Okay. So when we were kids, they never showed, or at least it wasn't very common. It was very rare that they showed a child's death.
Right. Oh.
And when a child would die in something, it was an insinuated death, or something that they spoke about afterwards. Mm-hmm. But you didn't see it. Mm-hmm. Now, I was watching the Halloween Ends the other day. And one of the very first scenes in that movie is not only a horrific child death, but it is very detailed, and it is you get to see every single second of what happened to that kid in a very realistic manner.
We actually turned off Dr. Sleep because of that.
We turned off Halloween Ends the first time that we tried to watch it because of that. I got pissed that they showed that. And if you know anything about me, I love Halloween and I love Michael Myers. And so I am there for every movie that they put out for him. And I was pissed. I got physically sick from that scene. And again, I forgot and I went back and watched it and saw it. And I had the kids in the room with me, and Mary was saying, I don't like this movie because there's a scene in there. And Aiden was trying to tell, Aiden tries to tell, well, it's not real, and this is what they did, and this is how they did it, and this is, how they brought this scene to life. And he tells you the behind the scenes way that they did it and stuff. Yeah. Excuse me. But even if you know all of that, I feel like us constantly consuming that kind of stuff is what is making it so that
it's
we're numb to it.
Right. It becomes normal.
Right. And like I said, I'm guilty of it. I'm speaking from personal experience on this. I'm not right for, I guess, letting the kids watch that kind of stuff. And I'm trying to wean them off of it now. We've been watching a lot of Hallmark and Pure Flicks. A lot of Disney.
I just found out we had Pure Flicks.
Well, you can only consume so much true crime and gore and death and horror and ghosts and paranormal before you really just need to check in with God and watch something lighter and, more scripture based.
I mean, I like the sci-fi stuff better than any of it, but I don't know. I when I was younger, I loved horror stuff, but now it's just I don't know. Some of it is just boring. It's either you go from one extreme from the PG-13 stuff that is completely bores you out of your mind to the rated R stuff that is so gross and just nasty that you don't even want to watch it.
So this is a discussion that he and I have often because, and I agree with you, by the way, that as I'm getting older, and me, I was a huge horror movie buff. It was all I ever watched. But as I'm getting older, I'm finding that I can tolerate it less and less.
Yep.
And I'm going more to the thrillers and the sci-fi stuff.
Especially the newer stuff. The new stuff is just...
Right, because when we were kids, and it is not because we are biased to the time that we grew up. Maybe we are.
I am.
But it's also true that they took more time with their storytelling.
Yep.
They put more thought, more effort, more originality into
in every movie, not just
the movies that they were developing.
Yep.
And right, that spanned across the board
Yep.
for all movies, And now it's we have run out of that creativity, and it's for another show, but I know why, or I think I know why. But we have begun to just repeat and not only repeat, but kind of just tweak it a little bit to, change it here and change it there a little bit. But we're losing in the transition, we're losing the storytelling, the what used to captivate people and keep their attention and draw them in. And they're replacing it with shock value and jump scares.
Yep.
And just
gore.
Gore and less quality and more quantity of that stuff.
Right. Yep.
And so it makes it harder and harder to stomach the stuff that they're coming out with.
Even and I'm not even talking about horror movies, but I'm just saying all the movies that they are coming back out with that they're just rebooting and trying to make it modernized. They're taking all of the original ideas and just...
They lose something in the translation.
Right. And
I will say though, like there are some people that can do it. Super 8.
Yes.
Super 8 was a great example of our generation now stepping up to the plate and bringing with them what we had as children in our movies.
Mm-hmm.
They brought that out in Super 8.
I think they did great with Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. There was another one recently. Is it summer of 1984? Let me look that up real quick.
Isn't that a whole like franchise thing?
I'm not talking about the R.L. Stine. Yeah, summer of 84. That was another one. I'm not talking about the R.L. Stine movies on Netflix.
Oh, I don't know.
Although I did like that series, and our kids like that. The Fear Street series.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Yeah.
I grew up on the Fear Street books. I read R.L. Stine, Christopher Pike religiously. So I liked those movies, and I thought that they did a really great, representation of the books in those movies. And I like that.
I started reading one of R.L. Stine's adult horror books, and I didn't finish it, but it was like really raunchy. Like very beginning of it, I was like, "What the hell? That was an extreme change there,
I'll
buddy."
stick with the young adult R.L. Stine.
That was crazy. It's like, who is this again? Who wrote this again? I was like, good Lord, man, that dude was getting.
He's trying to break out of his Disney era.
Well, that was years ago, but good Lord. Well, even the new Goosebumps isn't. It's pretty crazy.
Is it? I only saw the first episode and I liked it.
Well, I mean, it's not horror like adult horror, but I mean, it's still like I would say it would be like PG-13 or something like that.
Right.
But just because of like the backstories that it has and how the creep factor, it's actually pretty good. I mean,
yeah, I enjoyed it. And what I really like about it, and y'all, this really is showing my age because it's really showing how I'm changing as I get older. I really don't want the kids watching the horror movies anymore. But I used to be a really big advocate for, I was raised on it, so why can't they be? But now I understand it. And
well, there is a
I'm
difference.
so happy that they want to watch these nicer, scary stuff like R.L. Stine and Goosebumps and
even like Poltergeist and stuff that still had like a major creep factor, but it wasn't like it wasn't over the top with it, but that was still. I think what I was reading about Poltergeist was the first Poltergeist is the reason that we have PG-13 now, because of how creepy and scary it was for kids, because parents were taking it and because it was originally PG.
Yeah,
and I don't know if they changed it, but it came out originally as a PG movie.
Oh wow!
And then soon after, because of that movie, they implemented the PG-13 rating.
Dude, I can tell you the one scene that would make that PG-13.
What?
Can you imagine what I'm about to say?
I would think that the vomiting of the giant worm would be. No. What?
That's part 2.
Oh, that's part 2.
The first one, when the man rips his face off in the mirror.
Yes, yep.
And drops it into the sink.
And the boy, remember his braces, like. And then
part 2.
That was part 2. Good Lord, I'm good. It's been a minute.
No, Poltergeist changed my life. That was one of the movies that really freaked me out as a kid.
Yeah.
There was a lot in that. And going back and watching it now as an adult, even that scene in the bathroom where he's ripping his face off, like you could tell it's Jell-O and Play-Doh and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, as probably a 6-year-old kid, it was pretty major scene.
Well, that's what I was saying is like, but even back then you could tell it was like wax melting or just some goopy crap.
I'm gonna tell you how old I was when I watched that movie because I did not know.
But now, like the other day, I saw a trailer for a movie and it showed this guy like take a shovel and take the end of it and just go, and this guy's head just went boop and popped off and showing the inside of the...
Oh, yeah. They get
really,
really bad now.
Yeah. I mean, it's like totally different. Totally different. It's like you can go back to those old special effects where you got somebody behind a dummy and squirting like crap out of a neck or something and be just as good with that instead of...
But the kids now would not accept that.
Because they started implementing that CGI stuff and now it looks real. And so now it has to be like that. And then the next movie that comes out, they have to top what's already been out. So they make it even worse and worse and more realistic.
Hence why Mommy went and opened up a membership to PureFlix. We have been on a 3-day PureFlix binge.
And TV's not even anything better. The Walking Dead Glenn scene. He just needed a Band-Aid.
You need to just back up, buddy.
But I'm just saying.
That's why I stopped watching Walking Dead.
But I'm just saying that was like the most grotesque thing I've ever seen on TV.
It was horrible. First of all, I loved Glenn. Loved Glenn's character. He was my favorite character. When they first tried to kill him off with him underneath the dumpster with the walkers all around him, I was pissed with everybody else. And everybody was complaining into the production company, and they got them to write him back in and, change that story just to bring him into a even worse death later. And I am a huge Jeffrey Dean Morgan fan. Love him. Until he played Negan. Still love Jeffrey Dean Morgan, but I cannot stand the character of Negan because of how they portrayed him and what they had him do to my favorite character.
He does a really good bad guy.
He does. Unfortunately, he is a very good actor who can step into that role very believably.
I like that him and the guy that played, what was the sheriff's name?
Rick.
Him and Rick did a lot of TikTok videos together, like just spoofing the show, and they're like really funny. What?
That's not really them.
That's not really them.
No. That's lookalikes.
Are you serious?
Yes.
But it's on Jeffrey Dean Morgan's page.
Oh, you're seeing a different one. You're just seeing, I haven't seen those.
Oh.
I've seen, there are two men that look like them that do spoof stuff.
Oh, no, this is actually on his page.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I'm going to have to go check that out and see. But I was going to tell you when Poltergeist came out.
When?
Poltergeist came out June 4th of 1982. I was not even a year or even 2 years old yet. I was 1.
I was like...
So...
4?
I'm going to say I probably saw that movie in 84 when I was 4.
I saw that movie on TV. I didn't see that in the theater. I don't think.
Yeah, I saw it on TV. Probably on TBS.
I saw like the second one or third one at the theater. I just don't remember, but it could have been both of those, but I didn't see the first one.
I'm pretty sure that they never took us to see it at the theater, but I did see all of the Poltergeist movies when I was very young. I know that I saw Poltergeist 2 when it first came out, which was in 1986. So I was probably 4 or 5 when I watched the first one.
Yeah.
So being 4 or 5 and seeing that scene, it was very realistic to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was
I did not know the difference.
Kid,
I did not know that was not that man ripping his face off.
But I guess that's why I got a parental guidance rating also.
Right.
But PG-13 didn't exist until after that. It was just like...
He has a very interesting story coming up in our next show about this movie.
Yes. Poltergeist?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I got the next episode. I'm going to be talking about the true story that inspired the movie Poltergeist.
Which I did not even know existed. I did not know that a true story inspired this.
Oh, you wouldn't believe the movies that
the story
they're based on true stories.
Spread it out?
No.
Oh. Not from this one story, but just movies we've seen that are based on true stories.
Just true story. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Different true stories. Loosely based on true stories.
They have to add
Right.
and take away for effect.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you that the stuff that happened to the family that was based on Poltergeist, and even Emily Rose, that could have just been a movie by itself. That should have none of that should have been changed. I think that the whole everything that happened should have been like really documented in that movie.
Right.
And the same thing with like Poltergeist. And I didn't read up on The Exorcist, but that's based on a true thing that also.
There's some really, really horrible stuff. I might look into that if you don't, unless you want to make that like part of your segment. But there are some really horrible things that surround that movie.
Oh, Poltergeist?
The Exorcist.
Oh, The Exorcist.
Yes.
Poltergeist too. They were saying that was like a cursed
Right.
thing.
They said the same thing about The Exorcist because of things that were happening on and off the set. You should look into that. I just recently found out about it.
I'll definitely do it for Poltergeist when I'm doing my notes and stuff. Because I remember, Poltergeist was said to be like really cursed. Like I didn't know anything about Exorcist.
Yeah, you should really look into that.
And
I'm looking for notes because there was something else that I wanted to talk to you about. I already have my next 3 weeks worth of shows in here.
I got my next one.
Okay. I was going to tell you about the Atlanta woman.
The Atlanta woman?
Yes. This is not paranormal. It is not really true crime. But I feel like it's worth mentioning because I feel like it is a crime.
Well, I'll be the judge of that, buddy.
So this is a story that just came up on my newsfeed and it blew my mind. Susan Hodgson was on vacation. When she came home, she found that a demolition company had come and completely demolished her house.
Well, hell yeah, she just became rich.
I don't think so because she owned a home that she lived in, and then she owned another residence that had been closed up for 15 years.
Oh.
But it's still her residence. Like it's still, maybe she isn't living there, but it is still, so it's not typical, it's not really her residence, but it is still her property she owns, correct?
Right.
So she's on vacation. She's having a good time. She's with her family. She's living it up. She gets a phone call from the neighbor of that house saying, hey, did you authorize a demolition crew to come in and tear the house down? And she said, no. And the woman said, well,
they're doing it.
Unfortunately, they are in the middle of tearing the house down.
Your shit's gone.
The woman went out there to tell them, hey, I have the homeowner on the phone and what are you doing? And they told her to shut up and go home and mind her own business.
Oh, wow.
And so she asked her family
That's
member.
right, too.
She asked her family member that was inside to go out and ask them if they had a permit. So all gruff and upset, the man tells the family member, yeah, I've got a permit. He pulls it out and it's the wrong address.
Ooh.
And he said, oh man, we got the wrong address. And he calls his crew and they get in the truck and take off.
Did anybody get their information? Holy crap.
I think that they got
I'd sue the shit out of them.
I think that they got the company name. But they completely tore it down to rubble.
I would sue the shit out of them. I would own that company by the time I got done with them.
So I am really
and
curious.
And that man would be fired. He'd be...
It was the foreman.
Yeah, he'd be fired.
I am really, really curious to follow this story and find out what they do about it. If they do anything, or if they try to get away with it by saying, well, nobody lived there. It had been vacant for 15 years.
It doesn't matter. That does not matter. It is still somebody's property. That is still somebody else's property. You don't get to just go in and destroy. Well, and it's Atlanta, so I don't know.
Isn't that
Atlanta's
crazy?
a shithole, by the way.
Isn't that crazy, though, that can happen?
Yes.
I'm laughing because it's unbelievable, not because I think it's funny. I think it is devastating. It doesn't matter if you live in it or not. It was her family home, I believe, that she had grown up in, and it had been left to her.
Oh, she's got a big lawsuit. Trauma, money, like.
So, yeah, I'm really curious to see how this plays out.
Whew, I would be.
And even right now, they have not apologized to her.
Oh, I bet.
They wanted to decline a comment about it
On the news? Like, from a news agency?
to People Magazine.
Oh, that's at People.
Mm-hmm. But Fox 5 said that it is being investigated right now.
Good.
It is actively being investigated.
Absolutely.
But I'm just expecting, y'all, I am really expecting them to come back and say, shit happens. Here's what we think that it was worth.
Oh, yeah, I can see that happening. Well,
if they say that.
Ooh.
I knew this would get you because it took us so long to get to a place where we could afford our own home. And, it's now, even now with the economy the way that it is, and, things happen and things come up and unexpected things happen. And I don't know about y'all, but it's really hard to save for a rainy day and do like they say and save for 6 months worth of bills just in case, because we got 4 kids. They all have special needs. We all, have things come up all the time, new tires, car breaking down, whatever. It's really hard to save. So I knew when you heard this story, knowing our story, immediately your thought would have been, I'd hurt him. I'd hurt an MFer because...
Oh, the worst place that you can hurt a company like that and people like that is in their wallet. And I guarantee she goes in and she sues them for a couple million or more.
If she can get it.
That man is not going to be working.
Yeah. But can you imagine coming home and finding this as a rubble? And they're just like... Sorry.
I'd be on the phone with a lawyer immediately.
Oh, yeah. The comments were great. You can imagine. The comments in this were amazing. They were like, well, I'm calling a lawyer and an architect.
I'd be like, either y'all are going to take care of this or I'm going to take care of it.
Yep.
Y'all better figure it out.
I have my dream house.
Fuck that. No way.
I have my big kitchen with my big island with the sink in it and my double stove.
I'd be out there with a damn shotgun and a bulldozer and taking down that company building. Eye for an eye.
See the difference in the woman's answer and the man's answer? I'm over here planning my new home that they're going to have to pay for and build, and he's over there answering with violence.
Well, it depends on how much money I get out of it.
They have to pay you to be nonviolent?
Mm-hmm.
You see, he didn't even think about that answer. It was immediate. Yep. He's not really a violent person, y'all. He's all bark, no bite.
Somebody fucks with my family or my house and shit, we're going down.
That's different. You're right.
That's different, yeah.
So that's all I had tonight. But do you want to hear what I'm going to talk about next week?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm still pissed off from that.
Fun for me.
I sit here and tell you how beautiful you are, how sexy you are.
Wind them up and watch them go.
And I get high blood pressure.
I tell you how beautiful and sexy you are all the time.
Not on the podcast. You just give me high blood pressure.
Okay. So I'm going to be talking about Carl Steven. He was the actor who voiced Fred Jones in a pup named Scooby-Doo He was in Out of This World and Weird Science. So one of the things that I like to do when I'm watching movies, especially older movies from our childhood, is
Look up and see if they're still alive.
well, look up and see where they are now
Oh, yeah.
in the cast. So
We're so old, most of them's in a casket.
we are not that old. Hush. Psst. Catch a bubble.
High blood pressure.
Catch a bubble. There we go. So I looked up, we were watching Honey, I Shrunk the Kids the other day. This is before I got PureFlix and I transitioned us to Disney Plus. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And I looked up the cast of that, and he is the little boy. Do you remember their lawnmower was, what do you call it? Remote controlled. And he was getting ready to cut the grass, but the little boy came over and he wanted to cut the grass because he wanted to use the remote controlled lawnmower. Well, Carl Steven is the little boy that wanted to use the lawnmower.
Like the neighbor?
He wasn't a neighbor. He was just a friend of the boy.
Oh.
Or at least he wasn't a neighbor that was.
I barely remember that movie.
Oh, it's one of my favorites. I love it. I love it. The whole thought of like shrinking down and like having to like navigate the backyard and everything is so much bigger. But y'all,
I mean, it was good for its time.
It's still good for this time. But my favorite board to play in Super Mario World was the one where you were small and everything around you was giant.
Oh, that's because you related to
it. You are so mean. Anyway, so that's who I'm talking about next week. Carl Steven, the little lawnmower boy from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Aren't you like 4'8" or something?
I am 5'4". 5'2". Look, I just tried to add some. Yep. I'm 5'2". And then Ed Mead.
Ed Mead? Why do I know that name? I know that name for some reason.
Because I was telling you about him.
Oh. Is that one? That's the only reason I know?
The 81-year-old veteran. Yeah. That's the only reason you know. Oh. So those are the two stories I'm doing. You're doing Poltergeist?
I am. Poltergeist.
Yeah.
I'm doing Poltergeist. Well, I'm doing the true story of Poltergeist.
Don't get part 1 and part 2 mixed up next week.
It don't even have nothing to do with that. It ain't got nothing to do with it. It's the true story, or where what it inspired.
Yes. Do you want to watch them before?
No.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
But the new Exorcist movie is out.
You have fun with that.
I have a phone for that.
You have fun with that, sir.
Oh. You don't want to watch that with
No.
me? Oh.
No.
I'm pretty sure it's on PureFlix.
No, it's not. It will never be on PureFlix. But I do have some movies on PureFlix for you if you would like to see some scary religious movies.
Oh, you know what a good scary religious movie is? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the only one I've ever seen.
We just watched it.
The Remaining?
Me and the kids, yep.
So, The Remaining is really scary. Like,
it is really scary because it's true to the Bible. Like, it's really what supposedly is going to happen. Mm-hmm. I should not say supposedly. It is really what is going to happen according to the Bible. And if you are somebody that isn't saved or doubts your salvation or, just doesn't know, it can be very scary to watch that.
Yep.
Because your butt is going to be left behind and you're going to be living right in the middle of all that nastiness. And I don't want to be there. I do not want to be there for any of that.
We might be turning into a church channel.
Well, that's just, part of my life and who I am. So it's going to come out from time to time.
Yeah. I know.
Oopsie. If you don't want to hear about religion ever, I'm sorry. Disclaimer. We'll put the disclaimer at the beginning. Sometimes Tina goes off on religious tangents.
we're not supposed to talk about politics or religion or...
You are literally talking about religion when you talk about The Exorcist.
Oh, well, but I'm talking about like Catholic religion in general. Like,
is still religion.
Yeah.
It might be the creepiest of the religion, but it's still... I'm going to make so many people angry by saying that. Look.
No, it's because...
Hold on. The only thing that I know... Let's be fair. Let's be fair and real. Okay? The only thing that I know about Catholicism is what I've seen in scary movies. So, of course, that's my opinion of it.
I've never actually known a Catholic.
No, I don't know anything about the Catholic religion, really, except that they do this really cool thing where they I don't know, they trace themselves. What are they doing?
It's a crucifix.
They're crucifying themselves?
No, they're putting the cross on, blessing themselves, I guess.
Oh, well, that's the only thing I really know about that. And that every now and then they do the bread cracker thing.
We did that.
I know. What is it called, though? The communion. Yeah. Communion. And I know that Catholics don't believe that you can speak straight to God. You have to, ask for forgiveness through someone. You have to what?
Phone a friend.
Phone a friend. Yes, you have to phone a friend to speak to God and get forgiveness.
That's what was crawling on me. It was a hair.
And that's all of my knowledge of that religion.
Well, don't they like wine a lot?
Like
drinking wine? Yeah.
I have no idea. If you're Catholic and you wine a lot, let us know.
Drink wine.
That's what you said, though.
I said like wine.
Oh, they like wine a lot.
Yes, not whining.
I knew that you meant wine.
And some other things, but I'm not going to say that.
You can't judge judge all by 1 or 15.
Or more.
We don't know because we're not part of that.
No.
We are not trying to offend you if you are Catholic.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you hear stories. Mostly on the news.
You do hear stories.
On the news.
Yeah, I don't watch the news.
I don't either.
I purposely unplugged from the news because it started freaking me out.
Well, they tell a bunch of lies anyway.
See, you're getting political.
No, I'm not. I'm saying...
Don't say what channel you watched.
It's propaganda, honey. So they can set up the New World Order.
Oh, my Lord. We are ducking out. We are... Shh. I can't reach you to put my hand over your mouth. No. I'm high-fiving you. I'm trying to shush you before you get us canceled.
Again.
It's like number 32. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Cancel me,
so,
motherfucker.
Listen, every time we put a show out, I say, I really want to hear from y'all. I want to hear your stories. I moved my mic. Can you hear me now? I want to hear any true crime story that you know about from your area. Any paranormal event that you have been a part of or you know of. Tell me your urban legends. Tell me your alien encounters. I don't know. Tell me anything. I want to hear from y'all. I'm done.
What about me?
I hear from you all the time.
Oh.
I mean, if you want to go onto our page and comment, I'll read it.
I do comment sometimes.
Oh, I don't read it.
Wow. You don't love me.
I do love you.
Maybe you're not real.
I see. Don't play with me. Don't. Sir, you have to go upstairs with me.
Bow, chicka, wow,
no.
wow.
I do read your comments when, if you're interacting with Jeremy. I didn't know that you comment separately from that.
Oh,
But
I
remember, my
rarely,
notifications on YouTube are messed up.
I rarely do.
Oh, well, then I do read them.
Yeah. I mean, I comment if somebody says something to me usually,
Yeah.
but like I don't just go in there and comment
Right.
and stuff because I get in a lot of trouble sometimes.
It's because he does not know when to shut up.
But
You're living in the world of canceling people
I don't
for their thoughts
I don't
and
care.
opinions and beliefs.
I don't care.
They'll say, "You're out of here."
Like, okay, I'm out.
Hey, didn't you edit a video of a trip that we did recently that you're putting up on Patreon?
I'm not done yet.
Did you give up on it?
All right, look, no, I didn't give up on it. So by the time I ended up getting those videos over to the computer that I edit stuff on, it had gotten too late and I was tired. And,
right, but they're there now, right?
But I got all the videos, you know.
Right,
I just
so
didn't.
Sometime soon-ish,
It'll be this weekend. When
Okay.
I splice them together.
they will have their first video of traveling with us.
Yes. So I'm just going to warn you now. The audio was horrible.
We used the new mics that, what are they called? Lapel or something?
Lavalier.
Okay, so the mics that go on your
The ones that we used for the
clothes.
last episode.
And
You notice we're not using those anymore.
they're not good for the show. These are better. They would be great for the traveling, but he tried to use the noise cancellation option that is built into the mic instead of using his software to do it afterwards. So it was a lesson learned, but it's a new thing that we're learning about, and we got to figure out as we go.
But if you like hearing robots talk, it sounds awesome.
So the audio will be a little bit weird, but it is worth listening to us, I think. Maybe I'm just patting myself on the back there, but I love our interactions together, especially when we are out on the road. There's nobody else with us, and we are just being silly and 100% ourselves. And so...
And what you see on that video is how we really are all the time.
We are silly and goofy and maybe even a little stupid sometimes, but it's fun. We have fun with each other, and I think that will come across in this video, and you'll get to see a whole other side of us, very limited in its editing, not like what you saw on the show. It's really us, 100% us. And
yeah, you don't have to do the same thing over and over and over and over.
And I just think that you will enjoy this video. And it is the first of many. And the next video, the audio will be fixed because we now know what we did wrong.
Okay, so that's still kind of up in the air. Yeah, it'll be fixed-ish. The problem is those were like really, really low-end, cheap wireless lavalier mics.
Look, it's what middle class people with 4 kids can afford right now.
Like they were like $20 cheap. And
we're in the beginning stages. This is the baby stage of our show.
Yes. And
it will get better.
Yep. And so even with the noise cancellation off, it's still hard to edit. And that's why I had the noise cancellation off when we did our last show, and it was very, very hard to edit. And so those mics are probably going to pick up a lot of wind. And
until we're able to afford the better mics, would it not just be better to use the phone mic?
Well, the problem with the phone is that you can't hear.
It picks up the wind.
Well, it picks up the wind really bad, and it doesn't pick both of us up unless we're standing directly in front. Right.
Gotcha.
So that they're
all right. Well, there's bugs to be worked out.
Yep.
But it's still completely worth coming to watch. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you. I was there.
Yeah, it's very fun.
We were there.
Very fun video. I've watched all of them.
It was great fun. And we do this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I get bored. I am not somebody that can sit in a house all the time. I drove my parents absolutely crazy as a kid because all they heard from me was, I'm bored. Can we go do something? Can we go somewhere? Will you take me somewhere? Will you drive me here? Will you drive me here? And I do the same thing to him.
Now, I did find some wireless ones that are a little bit more expensive, like by $80. But I actually, see, the problem is when I found those cheap ones, I was looking up audio samples and I could not find anything. I just found that they were $20 and I was like, okay, that's
it's sold.
Yeah. But the ones that are around $100, they're actually from the place that we get our photography stuff from. So they should be way better. And I've heard audio samples that sound like it's like broadcast stuff.
All right.
So
anyway, that video will be up on Patreon next week. Lord, I am full of it. Next week.
Yeah, I'll put it together this weekend.
But it is going to be Patreon exclusive.
Yeah.
This is something that I wanted to do for our Patreon channel, is the traveling videos. So there will be 2 different sets of videos that I believe will be Patreon exclusive, and that's going to be our traveling videos and our ghost hunting videos. And so you'll get to see maybe marketing or advertising clips on YouTube and other channels, but that's it. If you want to see the videos, you're going to have to go to Patreon.
Right.
Because I want that to be exclusive to our Patreon people.
Yep. And they're going to be really fun.
Yeah.
Because, like she said, we're goofballs when we're in the car and we get bored and I especially start talking a bunch of crap and it just goes off the
hook. You think this is bad on the show? Put him in a car or a hospital room.
And it won't be like...
or a doctor's office.
With Patreon, you don't have to censor anything really, so it's like...
Oh, goodness. That could be good or bad for us.
It'll be fun. That's what it'll be.
It'll be an adventure.
Yes.
To see how long we get away with it.
I mean, it'll be fun, honey.
Mr. Johnnie over here, Mr. Johnnie Shades, he can go unhinged pretty quickly. Because he's usually going on no sleep. I wake him up at 2:30 and I'm like, hey, look, you got 30 minutes to be ready. And we're going to be out the door because we got to go an hour away.
Or 2 or 3.
And we have to beat the sun. So come on.
But by unhinged, she means I get goofy. I don't get like...
No, I meant silly.
Yeah. Like I don't know what goes on in my head.
You shock yourself sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes I do.
I know you do, because those times are the times where you giggle.
If nobody else laughs, at least I do.
Yep. I'm over here looking at him like, say what? And he's laughing. And not understanding why I'm not laughing. But it's fun. It's all in fun.
Well, that's the way it goes when you're on the verge of hallucinating from no sleep.
I will just say, I think that the best part in this video is going to be me making my way out of the forest of Joro spiders.
Oh, yeah. You know, I don't understand why they're still around. We have Northeast Georgia is covered in these damn spiders.
They are still here to torment me.
And it is October. It has been, this morning it was 42 degrees outside.
Dang.
And they are still, like, we have a tree in our neighborhood.
I know. I've seen it. It's completely covered.
And it is completely covered in spider
webs.
webs.
I'm here right now, hence my blanket, y'all.
And it is covered in spider webs, and I can't even imagine what's crawling through that tree.
Ugh.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my gosh. So we went to Watsonville State Park, and that's the video that you're going to see. You're going to see the road trip there, our time there, and then a little bit of the road trip home. When I tell you that this state park is absolutely covered in these spiders. Lord help me. It is covered. They are saturated in the forest part.
Even that little town that we went to.
Yeah. Comer.
Oh my God.
So I have very, very bad arachnophobia. Like if I see a spider, and it doesn't matter, so it can be this small. If I see a spider, even this small, it is this big. And
Joros are huge. They're about the size of your hand. So,
and my whole body locks up and I freak out. So to see a spider that in my mind is as big as my head, and it's right there, and right there, and oh my God, it's right there too. Oh shit.
Oh, well, if you notice,
directly above my head.
A lot of the Joro spiders, they actually have multiple spiders on their webs. And the Joro spiders are huge. Like, they are like,
y'all.
The biggest I've seen have been like the length of the palm of my hand. And then you got, of course, the 8 legs that spread out. So it's like huge spider. They're not venomous, but they are scary looking.
So, they're all over me right now, just talking about them. I can feel them on my skin. So you get to see a complete and total psychotic breakdown.
Oh, yeah.
In the middle of the woods. Wait. And I could not stop it. I knew that he had the camera in my face on me, and I could not control it. So you get to see me in my finest moment of...
So there's a part where she's talking about the trees. It's like a tunnel of trees. And so the spiders are up above where we're at. That shit was funny. Wave your hands in the air like you just don't care.
Oh, it's great fun. Y'all are going to love it. Reddit's going to have a field day with that.
Reddit won't go to Patreon.
Oh, yes, they will. I know that they will. Oh, and I'll tell you how later. Yeah.
What?
So they visited someone's OF page just to...
Oh, so they had to subscribe to get... Oh, well. If y'all want to subscribe and,
that's so funny.
And take it over to Reddit, that's fine.
Go ahead. Do it. Oh, you Reddit.
Actually, I dare you to do it. I double dog dare you.
You won't do it.
You won't do it.
So anyway, head on over to Patreon next week. Sign up, and you're going to get to see this video. And it's the first of many to come. I already have so many places that we are going to go and explore. We are going to try.
I actually wouldn't mind like going back to some places that we said that we were going to go back to and explore more of, because we didn't.
Okay, like where?
Like the place, the fairy forest place.
The fairy forest.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, you're talking about
the giant Native American statue up.
Yeah, you're talking about Shawnee.
I guess.
Yeah.
We go to so many places. I couldn't tell you.
It's Shawnee over in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That place is really cool.
I said in Cleveland. Lord, it's not in Cleveland.
That place is really cool. You go down the walking trails, and they had like kids. What?
Shawnee in Cleveland.
They had kids build this like fairy village that you see all the way down the trail. And it's like, what is it? It's called the Fairy Trail or something like that.
It was done by the Girl Scouts.
Girl Scouts. And so you see all these little bitty fairy houses that are set up so that fairies can live in them and stuff. And it's really cool. I just thought it was really cool.
It's incoming.
Oh, okay. It's somewhere.
It's an hour away. Listen, just about everywhere that we go is an hour to 2 hours away.
If not more.
The average is 1 to 2 hours.
It's an hour plus. That's what it is. Hour plus. That's what it is.
Yes. Yes. Because everything around us it's too small. And you can only do Yargo so many times.
Right. I mean, it's it's not even just small. It's kind of like the same thing over and over again. Once you see a tree, you've seen that tree like a million other times. So it's like, but out there, you get a little bit of a different experience because I do have like a lot of areas do have like unique things set up, even on the walking trails, like the ferry thing.
Right.
And then you get to go to, by the time you get to the end of the trail, you go to a giant waterfall or like a gorge or something.
I will tell you one place that is local that we love, and I go to there all the time, is Little Mulberry Park. So I go to one side of it to do my walking and let the kids play. But we went with our oldest daughter and our youngest daughter to the other side, and it's an even bigger trail, and it's fully covered by trees. It's a paved trail.
That trail is miles and miles and miles.
But it's beautiful, and it's an easy trail. But there are so many trails off of that trail that he wanted to run into the woods and explore. And our youngest daughter, kept pulling him back.
I did go out in the woods.
Right, but she kept trying to
yeah.
Because you were trying to go on all of the trails that went off. And some of them go for a while.
Well, some of them weren't even trails. I was just making a trail. But that's how I was raised. I was raised in the woods, so I'm just like, I would care.
Look. So I'm stopping behind them every now and then to take pictures because that's what I do. And I'd look up the road a little bit, and I see Catherine holding on to the back of his shirt, like trying to pull while he's stomping off into the woods.
Or I was already gone.
Yep. And she's standing there with her hands on her hips looking at me like, can you get him?
But I see stuff out in the woods that I find interesting.
He's like, ooh, shiny.
Yeah, and I want to go explore it. Mm-hmm. I don't like being trapped on that damn trail. I like going out into the woods. That's how I grew up.
But we're going to have to do that without Catherine because she gets very concerned. She is very concerned for her father's safety. She does not want anything to happen to him.
But I try to tell them all the time. That's how I grew up. But,
Yeah, but now you're old and she's afraid you're going to break a hip.
I can't see as good as I used to.
Stuck out in the woods.
My thing is like, the only thing I'm really worried about is I cannot see as good as I used to, and I can't see the snakes as well, but you
can see those spiders though.
And I can't hear as well either, so I can't hear something rustling, the leaves and stuff. But other than that, that's my only concern. Man, we used to climb like cliffs and stuff, and so where I used to live at, a buddy of mine, his family owned a lot of land across the street, and you would have to go on this not pavement, but dirt road to get to what was an archery in the back of the property. And part of that trail was giant gorges on the sides. And we used to climb down those things and climb up them. And I mean, those were, I don't know if you've ever seen.
Y'all were like the real life version of the Stand By Me kids.
Yeah, pretty much, I guess.
Like adventuring and not really worried about what would happen to you. You're just doing it.
Yeah, but we did it so much that we knew those woods inside and out. So it was like, it was just second nature, and
I do tell you that you remind me of Will Wheaton. He reminds me of Will Wheaton.
Anyways.
Well, that's all I've got for this week.
Yeah, that's all I got too. So stay tuned for that Patreon exclusive, and that's it.
Yeah. I hope y'all enjoyed the show, and we hope to see you here next week, same time, same bat channel.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
What he said.
That's what she said.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.